Hey students, today I'm going to continue reading Rabbit Hill by Robert Lawson, chapter 3. It is called Little Georgie Sings a Song. It was barely daylight when Georgie started his journey. In spite of her worrying, Mother had managed to put up a small but nourishing lunch. This, along with a letter to Uncle Analdus, was packed in a little knapsack and slung over his shoulder. Father went along as far as the twin bridges. As they stepped briskly down the hill, the whole valley was a lake of mist on which rounded tree tops swam like floating islands. From old orchards rose a mounting chorus as the birds greeted the new day. Mothers chirped and chuckled and scolded as they swept and tidied their nest. On the topmost branches, their menfolk warbled and shrilled and mocked one another. The houses were all asleep. Even the dogs of the fat man at the crossroads were quiet, but the little animals were up and about. They met the gray fox returning from a night up Weston way. He looked footsore and sleepy, and a few chicken feathers still clung to his ruff. The red buck trotted daintily across the black road to wish them good luck and good morning. But Father, for once, had no time for a long social conversation. This was business, and no rabbit in the county knew his business any better than Father. Few as well. "Now, son," he said firmly, "your mother is in a very nervous state, and you are not to add to her worries by taking unnecessary risk or by being careless. No dawdling and no foolishness. Keep close to the road, but well off it. Watch your bridges and your crossings. What do you do when you come to a bridge?" "I hide well," answered Georgie, "and wait a good long time. I look all around for dogs. I look up the road for cars and down the road for cars. When everything's clear, I run across fast. I hide again, look around to be sure I've not been seen. Then I go on. The same thing for crossings." "Good," said Father. "Now recite your dogs." Little Georgie closed his eyes and dutifully recited Fat Man at the Crossroads, 2 mongrels. Good Hill Road, a Dalmatian. House on Long Hill, collie, noisy, no wind. Norfield Church Corner, a police dog, stupid, no nose. On the high ridge, red farmhouse, bulldog and setter, both fat, don't bother. Farmhouse with the big barns, old hound very dangerous, and so on. He recited every dog on the route clear up to Danbury Way. He did it without a mistake and swelled with pride at Father's approving nod. "Excellent," said Father. "Now do you remember your checks and doublings?" Little Georgie closed his eyes again and rattled off quite fast. "Sharp right, double left, and double right. Dead stop, back flip, right jump, fox trip, and briar dive." "Splendid," said Father. "Now attend carefully. Size up your dog. Don't waste speed on a plotter. You may need it later. If he's a rusher, check, double, and freeze. Your freeze, by the way, is still rather bad. You have a tendency to flick your left ear. You must watch that. The high ridge is very open country, so keep in the shadow of the stone walls and mark the earth piles. Porky has lots of relatives along there, and if you are pressed hard, any of them will gladly take you in. Just tell them who you are and don't forget to thank them. After a chase, hide up and take at least 10 minutes rest. And if you have to really run, tighten the knapsack strap, lace back your ears, put your stomach to the ground, and run. Get along with you now, and mind, no foolishness. We shall expect you and Uncle Analdus by tomorrow evening at the latest. Little Georgie crossed the twin bridges in perfect form, returned Father's approving wave, and was off on his own. It was a gray and misty as he crossed Good Hill Road, and the Dalmatian still slept. He apparently did the collie up the road, for all was quiet as he plodded up a long hill. People were beginning to stir as he approached Northfield Church corner. Little plumes of blue smoke were rising from kitchen chimneys, and the air was pleasant with the smell of frying bacon. As he expected, the police dog rushed him there, but he wasted little time on that affair, lopping along with tantalizing slowness until they were almost on an old fallen apple tree buried in briars. He executed a dead stop, a right jump, and a freeze. The bellowing brute overran him and plunged headlong into the thorny tangle. His agonizing howls were sweet music to little Georgie as he hopped sedately along toward the high ridge. He wished Father had been there to see how skillfully he had worked and to note that during the freeze his left ear had not flickered once. The sun was well up when he emerged on the high ridge. On the porch of the red farmhouse, the fat bulldog and setter slept soundly, soaking up its warmth. On any other occasion, little Georgie would have been tempted to wake them to enjoy their silly efforts at running, but mindful of Father's instructions, he kept dutifully on his way. The high ridge was a long and open strip of country, very uninteresting to little Georgie. The view over miles and miles of rolling woods and meadows was very beautiful, but he didn't care especially about views. The brilliant blue sky and the bright little cream puff clouds were beautiful too. They made him feel good. So did the warm sun. But frankly, he was becoming slightly bored. So to ease his boredom, he began to make a little song. The words had been rattling around in his head for some days now, and the music was there too, but he couldn't quite get them straight and fitted together. So he hummed and he sang and he whistled. He tried the words this way and that way. He stopped and started and changed the notes around, and finally he got to the first line so that it suited him. So Georgie sang that line over and over again to be sure that he wouldn't forget it when he started on the second line. It must have been this preoccupation with his song that made little Georgie careless and almost led to his undoing. He scarcely noticed that he had passed the house with the big barns, and he was just starting to sing his first line for the 47th time when there came the roaring rush of an old hound right on his heels, so close that he could feel the hot breath. Oh my. Instinctively, little Georgie made several wild springs that carried him temporarily out of harm's way. He paused a fraction of a second to tighten the knapsack strap and then set off a good steady pace. "Don't waste speed on a plotter," was Father's rule. He tried a few checks and doubles and circlings, although he knew they were pretty useless. The great fields were too bare, and the old hound knew all the tricks. No matter how he turned and dodged, the hound was always there, coming along at his heavy gallop. He looked for woodchuck burrows, but there were none in sight. "Well, I guess I'll have to run it out," said little Georgie. He pulled the knapsack strap tighter, laced back his ears, put his stomach to the ground, and ran. And how he ran! The warm sun had loosened his muscles. The air was invigorating. Little Georgie's leaps grew longer and longer. Never had he felt so young and strong. His legs were like coiled springs of steel that released themselves of their own accord. He was hardly conscious of any effort, only of his hind feet pounding the ground, and each time they hit, those wonderful springs released and shot him through the air. He sailed over fences and stone walls as though they were mole runs. Why, this was almost like flying. Now he understood what Zip the swallow had been driving at when he tried to describe what it was like. He glanced back at the old hound, far behind now but still coming along at his plodding gallop. He was old and must be tiring, while he, little Georgie, felt stronger and more vigorous at every leap. Why didn't the old fool give up and go home? I'm going to stop there, boys and girls. We're on page 42, so our video won't be so long, but I'll pick back up in a few minutes.